You find the flight. You pause. Check your calendar. Glance at your bag. 10 seconds? Maybe 15? In January 1985, one airline was losing a price war to a rival flying the exact same routes for a fraction of the cost. Instead of cutting every fare to match, they built something new. A machine that could cut fares only where it hurt their rival most and protect the rest. It worked. A little over 2 years later, the rival airline no longer existed as an independent company. That machine never went away. 41 years later, a JetBlue passenger watched a fare jump $230 in a single day while trying to book a flight to a funeral. He posted it. JetBlue's own account told him to clear his cookies. The screenshot went viral, and it's now the basis of a federal lawsuit. This isn't a glitch. It's a system, engineered on purpose, still running, on every flight, and now on almost everything else you buy. Tonight, we open the machine.
For most of the history of commercial flight, there was, in a strange way, an honest simplicity to what you paid. A government board, the Civil Aeronautics Board, set the routes and approved the fares. Airlines couldn't cut prices even if they wanted to. That ended on October 24, 1978, when President Carter signed the Airline Deregulation Act, allowing airlines, for the first time, to set their own prices and enter any route they wanted. Deregulation was supposed to bring more competition. It did, violently. Within 5 years, the number of airlines nearly tripled. Dozens went bankrupt. One of the new arrivals was a small airline called People Express, founded in 1981 by a man named Don Burr. Its pitch was radical in its simplicity. Every seat, one price, no exceptions. A ticket from Newark to Buffalo for $19. It worked. People Express grew faster than almost any airline in American history, and it terrified the legacy carriers, especially the largest of them, American Airlines, run by a former accountant named Robert Crandall. Crandall had a problem. Across the industry, planes were flying, on average, little more than half full. In the years just before deregulation, the nationwide load factor hovered around 55%. Every one of those empty seats had already been paid for, the fuel, the crew, the gate fee, whether anyone sat in it or not. In his own words, decades later, yield management is nothing more than establishing the probable value of every seat on every airplane for the next 365 days. He couldn't just match People Express's low fares across the board. Americans' costs were too high. So his team, working with American's Sabre reservation system, built something else. On January 17, 1985, American announced Ultimate Super Saver fares, matching People Express's low fares, but only for passengers willing to book 30 days ahead and stay over a Saturday night. Business travelers who needed flexibility paid full price. Leisure travelers got the deal. Every seat sold at the price the type of passenger was willing to pay. It worked like a clock, and the public charters just went away. He wasn't exaggerating. In the first quarter of 1986, People Express needed to fill nearly 70% of its seats just to break even. Its actual load factor was barely 60%. By that summer, it had fallen further to barely half its seats, nowhere close to the level it needed to survive. A little over 2 years after American's move, on February 1, 1987, People Express ceased to exist, folded into Continental Airlines. There's a detail Crandall himself has told, almost as an aside. Years later, Don Burr mentioned that his own mother had called him, thrilled to say she'd found these amazing cheap tickets on American Airlines. American's own analysis put a number on what the system was worth: $1.4 billion in additional revenue over 3 years, enough to win the industry's highest award for operations research. The machine had a name now: yield management, and it had just proven, permanently, that a fixed price was a competitive weakness.
Here's what that machine actually looks like today. A single flight isn't one price. It's a stack of fare buckets, sometimes 15, 20, occasionally more, each with its own price and its own rules.
They're not separate pools of seats. They're nested inside each other. The cheapest bucket sells first. When it sells out, it closes, and the next cheapest bucket becomes the new lowest price. That's usually why a fare jumps, not because a computer clocked you personally, but because a bucket beneath you just ran dry. A dedicated system, a revenue management system, is constantly forecasting demand for every flight months out and deciding hour by hour which buckets should be open. Which brings us to the belief almost every flyer holds, that if you search for the same flight twice, the price goes up because it saw you looking. Clear your cookies, use incognito mode. Everyone's heard the trick. Here's the uncomfortable twist. It's not true, not in the way people think. Consumer Reports ran the test methodically, 372 paired searches, one browser loaded with cookies, one wiped clean. The same price appeared 88% of the time. Economists at Yale, Berkeley, and the University of Chicago studied a major airline's actual pricing algorithm and found the same thing. Your individual searches don't move your price at all. As Yale economist Kevin Williams put it, your search behavior almost surely does not affect anything. But if you book the last seat at the lowest price, then you could affect that flight for everyone else. That's the real mechanism. It's not watching you. It's watching everyone at once. And it doesn't need to know your name to do it. But here's why the myth won't quite die. The thing people feared is now genuinely arriving. In 2025, Delta told investors it was using an AI system built with a firm called Fetcher to price a growing share of its domestic tickets, with a stated ambition to eventually offer, in the words of Delta's own president, a price that's available on that flight, on that time, to you, the individual. U.S. senators warned it could mean fares tailored to each consumer's individual pain point. Delta says it doesn't use personal data, and never will. The FTC is investigating exactly this practice, a practice regulators now call surveillance pricing, using data like your location, your device, even your browsing behavior, to calculate the maximum a specific person will pay. So the old fear was wrong about the mechanism, but it was right about the direction. For 40 years, the system priced groups. It's now trying to learn how to price you.
Robert Crandall predicted exactly what would happen next. In his own words, describing yield management's legacy, "It's become a generalized business practice, and we started it. All through the hotel business, the car rental business, a lot of businesses where the price of a product ought to vary based on the intensity of use." According to industry lore documented by operations research historians, Marriott's CEO learned of Crandall's system through a chance conversation in the 1980s and walked away building the same logic for hotel rooms, adding an estimated $150 to $200 million a year in revenue by the mid-1990s. Marriott and Hilton now run AI-driven pricing engines across millions of guest profiles, adjusting rates multiple times a day. Uber and Lyft built the same logic into surge pricing, a live auction between demand and available drivers. A Columbia Business School study of tens of thousands of trips found the mechanism didn't just balance supply. It pushed Uber's own share of every fare from roughly 32% to over 42% in just a few years, while driver pay fell. Then it reached the grocery store. Kroger began installing digital shelf labels that can change prices in real time, the same technology transplanted to bread and milk. 2 U.S. senators wrote to Kroger's CEO warning the system could enable what they called surge pricing, and used a very specific comparison, that groceries could end up priced like airline tickets. Kroger denies using it that way. The online grocery platform Instacart went further. In December 2025, investigators from Consumer Reports and the Groundwork Collaborative found Instacart was quietly running an AI pricing tool that charged identical groceries, same store, same moment, up to 23% more to one shopper than another. Days later, facing public backlash, Instacart shut the tool down for good, the very same week it agreed to pay $60 million to settle a separate FTC lawsuit over deceptive delivery fees and subscription practices. The FTC's chair publicly praised the end of the price testing on the same day. Even concert tickets aren't safe from the backlash this system now generates. When Oasis announced their 2024 reunion tour, fans watched prices apparently surge in real time and revolted, triggering a UK government investigation. The finding, months later, was almost poetic. It wasn't a live algorithm at all. It was old-fashioned tiered pricing. Cheap tickets released first, then far more expensive ones once those sold out. The appearance of an all-seeing algorithm caused as much outrage as the real thing might have. That's the real inheritance of 1985. Not one system, but a logic. Sold as fairness, felt as surveillance, that has now quietly rewritten how almost everything gets priced.
Go back to that JetBlue passenger, the one trying to get to a funeral. The sense that you can no longer know, in the moment that matters most, whether the number in front of you is a fair price, or a number calculated specifically because you were desperate enough to pay it. For most of history, a price was a single fact. The same for you, for the stranger next to you, for everyone. That idea died quietly in 1985, in a fight between two airlines most people have forgotten. It didn't announce itself. It just worked, and it spread, one industry at a time, until the price stopped being a fact and became a guess. A guess about who you are, how badly you need this, and how much you'll tolerate before you walk away. The engineers who built it don't talk about it like villains. Robert Crandall still calls it one of his proudest achievements. And whether the machine helps you or hunts you still comes down to how it's built. Yale economists found dynamic pricing can leave passengers better off, or backfire on everyone, depending on that one detail. Nobody outside the airline gets to check which one you're getting. What's certain is that the fixed price, the number you could trust, the same for everyone, is gone. Not just from flights, from hotel rooms, rides, groceries, tickets to a concert. And the next frontier isn't whether prices will change, it's whether they'll change based on you specifically. So the next time a price changes, the second you look away, you'll know what you're actually looking at. Not a glitch, and, for now, probably not you personally. Just a machine, built 41 years ago to save one airline, still running, and still learning exactly how far it can go.